I occasionally have taken medication and drugs to actually balance my seam of overwhelmment.
No, you don't balance your overwhelmment. What you do is mute your ability to know you're overwhelmed.
Oh, got it. Yeah. What happens?
Which is not altogether a bad thing, because feeling that frenzy isn't good for you either. But it's like putting a Band-Aid on a gushing wound. It's really not the answer.
Well, what happens to asking when you're in that state of what a drug or anything kind of puts you in?
What happens to asking? It gets bigger and bigger and bigger. Because once you ask, it moves forward into this vibrational atmosphere that we want so much for you to accept the reality of this vibrational reality. When life causes you to ask, you emanate a request that Source answers. And the fact that Source has now answered the request, meaning Source is giving undivided attention to your request, focused relentlessly, never-endingly upon what you've asked for. And now, think about law of attraction now, responding to that focal point of your inner being, which means that desire, what happens to my desire? Your desire just continues to expand and become more, which means once you launch one, it's prudent for you to move in the direction of it because of the expanse between the desire that is yours and is tied to you because you gave birth to it, and you in the moment, because of the thoughts you're thinking. If the expanse, the vibrational difference is too great, then what happens to my desire? It gets greater and greater and greater. What happens to me if I don't move with it? I feel worse and worse and worse until I say I'm overwhelmed or depressed or afraid.
Yeah.
We want you to feel the bigness of this, but we also want you to feel the ease of how easy it is really to keep up with your own desires. You just have to talk in favor of them, not against them.
Yeah.
A subject that you feel overwhelmed about. What's the topic?
Body. Right now. I feel overwhelmed with my body.
All right. So now talk to us about your body.
Okay.
The things that you usually say and feel about it.
I'm not happy with my body.
All right, so you got a what isness problem going on, don't you?
Absolutely.
Yeah, facing a current reality. There are two topics that really are standouts for the current what you're living being so in your face that it's hard for you to do anything else. One is your body and how it feels, or how you perceive it to be, and money. It's not easy to have this reality that is so real and so obvious and so apparent and so everywhere you go. So as you take your body everywhere you go, it's on your mind, and it's on your mind in its current form. But if it could not be on your mind so much, the way you feel about your body would become less and less active, and the desires that you've been creating, with every uncomfortable moment, you've created a desire that your inner being is aware of. So we have some practical questions for you. Which do you think is a more long part of you? Your inner being Source you, or the physical you in your body right here and now? Who's been around the longest?
Inner being Source, me.
And energetically speaking, who do you think has the most energetic clout?
Inner being Source, me.
So your inner being, the source of you, is really, really a powerful part of you. Really powerful. And has really strong attraction power. So can we convince you that there is a reality that already exists that you just haven't allowed to turn to a thing? In other words, there's a vibrational version that you haven't allowed to turn to a thing. And the only reason that you haven't allowed the vibrational version to turn to a thing is because the thing you've already got has so much of your attention. So does it follow that if you could give that less attention, and as we said, do you think that you have the ability to just give it a rest on that subject for a while?
I do.
While your inner being continues to know what your inner being knows about this subject.
Yes.
And is it logical to you that if you could do that, which means if you could not think about it, which means if you could stop giving it go power as far as you're concerned, that it would dissipate and that the struggle would become less, the resistance would become less?
Yes.
Now we want to talk about how thoughts turn to things. First, appeal to your own logic. Do you see any pipelines trucking in new resources to this planet from other galaxies? Have you actually caught one of those spaceships and watched them download crude oil into your holes? Are there little men out there pounding diamonds into your diamond mines? Is there a truckload of food and seeds raining like frogs from the sky? Or are thoughts turning to things? Is it vibration maturing and becoming something that you can witness with your physical senses? Now we know it's a stretch. It's not easy to be so good at facing reality with your physical senses and then to have someone say, don't do that so much. Don't face reality with your physical senses so much, because the current reality that you're facing is preventing the one that you really would prefer to replace it. But that really is what's going on. You just can't keep beating the drum of what is and let the new improvement happen. The new improvement is in process. Don't get your mind in the way. Just be still. You're talking to us about something that you want to soothe or to be different. And we want you to understand that I meditated and I got a thought and I followed it through and a wonderful thing happened. And I meditated and I got a thought and I followed it through and something else. Why can't it be Source is guiding me in what feels like a magic carpet ride to the fulfillment of my existence? In other words, to the fulfillment of my beingness. You get what we're getting at. Let your alignment keep you joyful. There isn't anything more important than that you feel good and that you be happy, because this world is going to keep going on. It's set up perfectly. There's always going to be contrast, so you're always going to be launching more into this vortex, and so evolution and expansion is going to continue to be. And there will always be Source answering that. It's always going to be okay. It's always going to be okay. This is only about you being joyful while it goes on. This is about you not waiting until you croak to finally put yourself in the receiving mode. This is about being in your body, in the same body that did the asking, and in this body do the receiving, so that you get to witness the evolution of the things that you've been asking for. Nothing is more exhilarating than to witness these thoughts turning to things, these vibrations turning to thoughts, and these thoughts turning to things. Oh, it's the process of that life is all about. This steady pipeline of things in the process of becoming, And yes, they will manifest into experience. It's the delicious contrast that caused you to focus. Yes. It's the focus that caused you to launch the rocket. Yes. It's that rocket that caused your inner being to join it and add momentum. So the vortex is gathering all of the cooperative components, and then you quieting your mind and getting into the receiving mode so that you can follow the impulses into your joyful now, not your joyful later, not your manifestation later, to the joyful now. There's no ending to this now joy, but we want you to get fixated on the now joy, not the later joy. On the now open valve, not the later open valve. On the how I feel now, not how I feel will affect what comes later. You hear the difference?
Yeah.
Focus on how I feel now, not what that will produce. Because the minute you turn toward your ulterior motive of doing something with it, now you're back in the focusing on what is, and you stop the whole flow of all of that. You see?
Yeah.
You're running the show. You came. You're the leading edge. You're in the contrast. You're making the decisions. Can you feel the difference between your thinking of a thought, step 1, and your receiving of a thought, step 3? We'll wait until you figure that out. Can you feel the difference? Well, this is a new thought for you, isn't it? When you're exploring contrast, you're thinking about it. You're evaluating it. You're measuring it. You're comparing it. You're choosing from one thing and another. In other words, you're contemplating it. Your thinking mechanism is really involved when you're in that contrasting mode. But once you've launched that rocket, and once Source has hold of it, don't you think it would be a good idea for you to listen in to see what Source thinks about it, and to see what resources have been gathered up for you, a steady stream of them? So it's like Source says, all right, we've got a beat on what you want, and you can keep exploring life, and you can keep amending your desire, and we'll keep feeding to you impulses and suggestions about how you might enjoy the evolution of this desire the most. Not how you can get to it the fastest, not how you can justify your existence by getting rid of this problem. How you can enjoy the unfolding of this desire the most. It's like the new ice cream store opened. Oh, they have so many beautiful things to choose from. And so you look and you choose and you get it, and then do you scarf it as fast as you can? Or do you lick it and savor it and slow it down? Do you savor it? Do you make it last as long as you can? Do you enjoy it? That's what your inner being wishes for you on this journey. Let's just play with this for a minute. Let's pretend that it took you 5 years of contrast to ask for something. It's not like that, but let's just say, just for, and now you've asked, and now you want it to manifest all of a sudden. No. You want it to manifest slowly and continue to surprise and delight you with every stage of its evolution. You want to feel in on it, don't you? Until you've meditated every day for a while. We're talking maybe 30 days. Might be sooner, but maybe 30 days. So that you really know that you're in the receiving mode, and you receive a thought that's so compelling that you just can't not follow it. And then it leads to something and leads to something and leads to something, and the pleasure just keeps coming and coming and coming and coming and coming, and you are actually a conscious witness to the unfolding of the thought that you know you received because of meditation. Until that happens to you, this is just a theory that you could forget about tomorrow. But once you actually begin meditating deliberately and are acknowledging even during meditation, this must be the receiving mode because I am chilled. And then an impulse or a thought comes, and you know for sure that you received it. And then the impulse is strong enough because you've been in a state of non-resistance, so that the impetus, the momentum of the thought of source has enough momentum going that your impulse to act on it is strong enough, and you do, and you witness the result of that successful receiving mode, that successful download of important information from broader perspective, who knows about you and loves you so much. Once you start doing that, then you'll say, the magic is back in my life. Then you'll say, I'm invincible. Then you'll say, bring it on, contrast, because I just love having a new thought, because all I got to do is put it over there in the Vortex machine, and the Vortex machine will attract all the cooperative components, and when it's ready for me, Source will tell me. And I'll be ready for Source to tell me, because I'm ready every day for Source to tell me. I don't just meditate occasionally. Yeah, I have meditated. You said, I've meditated. I've meditated. I am a meditator. I meditate every day. Every day I put myself in the receiving mode. Every day I know Source has something to give me. Every day I'm ready to receive what I'm most ready to receive. You have to be committed to, not committed. You have to be committed to following the impulse when it comes. Be the receiver of the impulse. You are all the time. You're the receiver of impulses when you drive. You're the receiver of impulses when you yawn. You are the receiver of impulses when you sneeze. You are the receiver of impulses when you breathe. You are the receiver of impulses all the time. You just don't know that you are.